Amie Hornaman, widely known as the Thyroid Fixer, is a functional medicine practitioner, speaker, and founder of the Advanced Thyroid and Hormone Clinic, serving patients across the US and Canada. After battling her own thyroid misdiagnosis, fatigue, weight gain, hormone chaos, she made it her mission to uncover why so many people are told they're normal while still feeling awful. Host of the Thyroid Fixer podcast and creator of the Fixer supplement line, her goal is simple: help you fix fatigue, brain fog, stubborn weight, and reclaim your energy, confidence, and life. Thank you, Amie, for joining me today. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. As we were saying in the green room, thyroid is often overlooked when it comes to perimenopause and menopause, whether you're talking functional medicine or conventional medicine. So welcome, and why don't we start with your story?
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. And as you can hear from my voice, I've been talking a lot about thyroid, right? It's such an important topic. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because of my own story, my own pain and purpose story. So if I go back, oh goodness, this is 25, 30 years ago, I was a competitor. I was an athlete. I was competing in bodybuilding, fitness, and figure. I knew how to fuel my body. I knew how to lose weight. I knew how to get my body into basically the top shape, right? Lean, muscular, standing on a stage in a bikini. It's craziness, but that's what I did. This one show I was getting ready for, the scale kept going up and not down. Now, I'm sorry. You might not be a calories in, calories out kind of person, but when you're eating a limited amount of calories and you're burning it twice a day at the gym, you would think, you know what? The body is going to release this fat. It's certainly not going to put on extra fat. Come on. How does that happen?
It's not logic.
It's not logical at all. But my body was doing that. It was literally laying down fat in all over. Just all over. And it kept going up, and I had no control over what my body was doing. So every time I got on the scale, I'd look down, I get depressed because it was going up. I had to report to my coach. He's looking at me thinking I'm cheating on donuts and stuff. I'm like, no, dude, I'm doing all the things. I'm doing exactly what you have written down for me here. What is happening with my body? And he had no answers. He didn't know. Nobody could help me. So I did what we all do. I went to my doctor.
Yeah.
And I told my doctor what was going on, and he ran some tests at the time and said, you're normal. Everything is fine. I'm like, okay. I don't feel normal. I don't feel fine. So I'm not going to accept that. So I went for second opinion time. Doctor number two. Doctor number two looks at what I'm eating, looks at my exercise regimen, because by this time I started bringing it in. He's like, your BMI, it's in the normal range. He points to this chart. He's like, why don't you just try to eat less and exercise more? I'm like, you're kidding, right? Did you see the caloric intake on the paper, or did you just not even look at that?
Right.
So I left that appointment totally distressed. I got in my car. I cried. I prayed. I started wearing sweatshirts at the gym. I was so embarrassed and so just hopeless, really. I didn't think anybody had an answer, but I kept going. So I went to 6 doctors total, and they all dismissed me. They all said you're normal. They all said you're fine. Eat less, exercise, all the things, all the medical gaslighting. Doctor number 7 finally diagnosed me. She touched my throat and she said, swallow. Oh my God, you're touching me. Wow, that's a first. She said, you have some nodules here on your thyroid. And based on these numbers, it's looking like you have hypothyroidism. We're going to give you a pill. And I was like, hell yeah. Well, then let's do this. So I left her office. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a pill. Michelle. And it's going to fix me. I know it. I'm going to lose the weight. This is awesome. And I gave it 5 months, no change. Nothing, no weight loss whatsoever. So I did some Dr. Googling, because that's, what we do as well. And, Dr. Google teaching me that this pill that she gave me is T4, totally inactive. I'm like, okay, wait, I'm taking this inactive thyroid hormone. Okay. And there's this active thyroid hormone over here called T3. And that comes in a pill too. So turns out some doctors will use both of them together. It's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I went back to her and I said, there's this active thyroid hormone, T3. You gave me the inactive thyroid hormone, T4. Why don't we do both? She goes, that's not standard of care.
Oh, yeah.
I don't do that.
I've heard that many times.
So many times. And I said, well, I'm going to find somebody who does. And that's what led me into functional medicine. Ultimately, that's why I'm here doing what I do. That's why I'm talking till I can't talk anymore about the thyroid, because it is that important. Yes. It literally has control over your entire body.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, sometimes Synthroid, which is the typical pharmaceutical that people get that is T4, sometimes it works. If you are deficient in T4 and your conversion to T3, like you were saying, the active hormone, sometimes it can work. Sometimes it works for a period of time and then stops working because it wasn't the actual root of the issue to begin with. And then sometimes it's the conversion that's the problem and you actually need T3.
Bingo.
So I'm thinking about somebody specifically who years ago said to me, I don't want to, say her name or anything like that, but said to me, oh no, my doctor said my thyroid was fine. And I immediately cringed. I just I hate the word normal. I hate the words you're fine. I hate work out more, eat less. I hate that unless you're going to put up a fight, that doctors just won't look deeper until you say, I can't get out of bed. I'm so exhausted. Until it is the extreme. But you're going to the gym every day. So you're obviously not feeling that bad. That's how I feel like the doctor's thinking, right?
Right. Oh my gosh. I love you for saying that too, because I say that in the book. Normal is a setting on the dryer. It should never be used to describe your labs. You always want to land in the optimal. We don't want to just be standard. We don't want to be normal. We want to be our best version of ourselves.
Yeah. And I even think that, I don't think anybody would argue that, even if they weren't, into fitness shows. I've done fitness shows as well. I've trained for all of that. We have a very similar story. But even if they don't, actively work out like you did, or actively say, no, I'm not putting that junk in my body, but just like a regular person who just cares about their health. If you ask them, do you want to be in optimal health? Most people would say yes, because the alternative means disease. No thanks, right? No. But yet our doctors say everything's normal. We are just so easily either don't know how to ask more questions, or we just sort of blindly trust that's the end of the story. So we just say, oh, okay, I'm normal. This is just my normal now. I turned 40. I've gained 20 pounds. That's just normal.
Yeah.
Right?
I have a story for that. So I was sitting on a plane. You always do the small talk with the person next to you on the plane. And the woman is telling me, oh, I have a thyroid problem too. And I said, hey, what are you taking? She said T4. And she goes, oh, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing fine. It's working. And I'm sitting there going, okay, half of your hair is gone. I can see your scalp, and no judgment, but you're about 75 pounds overweight. There's body positivity, and then there's obesity that is detrimental to our health. But that was her normal, fine, good. Everything is working just hunky dory. And to your point, I think that's it. We change our normal to fit what we believe our bodies should be instead of what our bodies truly were meant to be.
Oh yeah. And I gotta say, I will refuse to accept anything other than during pregnancy or postpartum, real situations. But if you are in full control at that point, I refuse to accept that my age is going to dictate the way I feel.
Absolutely. No, we never accept that. No, that's a rule for all the ladies out there.
Absolutely not. Refuse. And you know what? You're modeling to your family, to your kids, to your nieces, nephews, whoever. And then at the end of the day, I've heard women over 60 say things like, they have a low libido, which also comes with hypothyroid. Yep. I have a low libido, but what do I need that for anymore? Are you telling me that at 60? That is young. Are you telling me at 60, you don't want to have a healthy sex life with your partner or whoever?
Right.
Let's hope for a solid mid 80s here for me.
Exactly.
So I think you're right to that point. We kind of just think about our bodies as oh, this is the way it should be, so it's fine, rather than let me strive for something more. And there's a saying about living a long time versus living well for a long time. And they're two very, very different things.
Well, yeah, like Dave Asprey, man, he wants to live to like what, 130 or 150. I don't want to live that long unless I look good and I feel really good. Like I'm not just going for a number here. I'm going for quality. So if it means that I hit 90, but I'm still having sex and skiing, I'm good. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I fully agree. So let's talk a little bit about the thyroid in general so that women know what, if they're feeling the symptoms that you're talking about, the brain fog, the fatigue, the weight gain, what do we feel like, these women are coming up against with their doctor other than just normal? Like, are their doctors telling them it is just age? Are they confusing hypothyroidism with perimenopause, which in itself is just kind of another diagnosis of a misarray of symptoms, in my opinion? What are they coming up against, and what can they do to either have a workaround to get the answers they want, or what are the questions they need to ask their doctors?
Oh, okay. Let's break this down. Okay. So first we have to look at the symptoms, and what I want a woman to do who's listening is just bullet point your symptoms. And we're going to name off a few just to kind of get your brain rolling. Obviously we mentioned weight gain, inability to lose weight, hair loss, fatigue, constipation, brain fog, anxiety, depression, dry skin, loss of the outer corners of your eyebrows. You already mentioned low libido, low motivation, I don't want to do anything right now. Low body temperature, where you are cold when everyone else is normal. Low heart rate, low blood pressure, sometimes very erratic blood sugar, where you could have high or low. You could be eating carnivore and still be insulin resistant or type 2 diabetic because the thyroid controls that. You could have a really wonky lipid panel because the thyroid controls that. And you're like, I'm doing all the things, right? So it really is, I always say that the thyroid from head to toe, it runs the show. So it really controls every aspect of your body. So I want you to bullet list your symptoms. Now, we know that some of those will overlap with perimenopause and menopause, but this is why in the book, I talk so much about thyropause. And thyropause is that intersection. So it really is where perimenopause is happening. And by the way, none of us are getting out of that. Yeah. Like no one yet has figured out how to age like Benjamin Button. So until they do, we're all going to go through perimenopause and menopause. So what do we know? Our hormones start to decline. Progesterone drops off first. Testosterone follows. Estrogen, well, that goes on a wild roller coaster and then it drops off a cliff later on. That hormonal chaos is enough to turn on the Hashimoto switch. So when we say Hashimoto switch, we're talking about the autoimmune form of hypothyroidism. So low thyroid function. Your immune system thinks that your thyroid gland is a bad guy. Yeah. And it goes out and likes to attack. So that's what Hashimoto's is. And what that does is it slows down your thyroid. It makes you hypothyroid. So when we're in this hormonal chaos, that switch, that autoimmune switch can stay in the off position for a while. And then something flips it. This could be pregnancy, another time in a woman's life of hormonal chaos. Or it could be perimenopause, menopause, where those shifting hormones then bring on hypothyroidism. So now you have an overlap. Before maybe you just had perimenopausal symptoms, but now you have both.
Yeah.
And it's not that we have to figure out which is which. We treat both. So this is going to lead into our step 2 for women. Get tested. Test, don't guess. But get tested thoroughly, because if you half-ass the testing, if your doctor half-ass the testing, if your doctor says no to testing, it is time to get a new doctor.
Yep.
You do not spin your wheels for 4 months trying to convince your PCP to write the damn reverse T3 on the test. You move on because you're wasting precious time of your life. So do not try to battle the insurance system and get your OBGYN to somehow magically know what the thyroid does when she doesn't. Just get the testing done properly by someone who knows what they're doing. Now, we have the ability to order our own tests. We do. We even have a full at-home panel for thyroid and hormones that people can do in the comfort of their home. That's cool. But you have to get the test done and then you have to interpret it. So in the Thyroid Fix, in my book, that's literally what I'm taking people through. So if you do have to order your own, no big deal. Don't rely on your PCP to interpret it for you. We're going to look at that together. So you have all the data, and now we're going to look at it and say, is this just normal or is this optimal?
Right.
Optimal is where we want you. We want you in that beautiful optimal range that we know this is where you are going to feel your best. So I would say that's step 1 and step 2. I don't want to go too far in case you want to unpack anything there.
Yeah, I think that, well, one, I think that going to your doctor with a planned conversation is so important. So listing out your symptoms, because it's really easy for women. I've done it. I literally hear it in every single woman's story that they can almost gaslight themselves. They dismiss, the tiredness from a bad night's sleep. I've got young kids, they dismiss the hot flashes at perimenopause. Fine, whatever. Maybe that's a piece of it. Like you said, they dismiss the low libido as like, this just happens in your 40s. You've been married 10 years. Like, it's just what it is. I'm trying to think of what else. Anxiety, depression, just like a confidence piece, right? Maybe you aren't as confident as you were at work, in your early 20s, 30s. People like to just say to themselves, oh, well, I'm 40 and I'm feeling it, or I'm 50 and I'm feeling it, or, and we just don't think that all of the symptoms are connected. So we think of them as one-offs. So go make a list. Say, doctor, I know you got 10 minutes with me. This is what I want to talk about today. And go in with real intentions right then and there. If your doctor is not willing to address all of that together, or if they just say, oh, well, it sounds like perimenopause, don't accept it. Both Amie and I, and there are many practitioners that you can order these tests at home. Yes, it's coming out of pocket, but is it worth it if it means your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s could be the greatest years of your life, for a $200 test, a $500 test? And so to your point, step number 2, actually taking somebody through it. So in your book, The Thyroid Fix, you've got a standard sort of protocol that you would put somebody through based on their findings, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah. So how I built this out, Michelle, was kind of unique. So I've been in this space for a long time. I read all of the thyroid books out there, even the OG ones from the 90s. The one thing that no one, I don't want to say they didn't have the courage to write. I think a lot, especially if it's written by a doctor, they're kind of scared to talk about the medication piece. And this is, i.e., the thyroid hormone replacement piece. So just like we're talking about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy now with menopause and perimenopause, we have to open up that conversation to include thyroid hormones now, because we can't put thyroid hormone replacement into this bad medication category. That category where women say, I don't want to take that the rest of my life. Okay. Those are your Band-Aid medications. Those are the ones that you're probably going to get handed to you like candy if you go in and say, I'm depressed, or you have elevated cholesterol. You'll get the antidepressant, you'll get the statin, you'll get the BP med, no problem. But thyroid hormone replacement is different. So I just wanted to say that right off the bat. Next up is when we are talking about treating what we see on paper. So we have the symptoms. Now we have the labs. Now we're going to look at those labs through a nice little optimal microscope and make sure that they're not just falling in that standard lab value range. Because you're not standard and you're not normal. You want to be optimal. So we're going to look at it through that lens. Then what I did with the Thyroid Fix is I built it, and you might be too young, girl, but you remember those choose your own adventure books?
Oh, yes.
Do you? Okay. Well,
I'm loving where this is going.
So I didn't think you were old enough to remember, but for my peeps out there that do, and you do. So I take people through this choose your own adventure. So on the one hand, let's say we're going to use an example. Let's say Susie Q is on your standard of care synthroid medication for her hypothyroidism that was diagnosed 5 years ago. And Susie has all the symptoms. I mean, she can't lose weight. She's doing all the things. She's tracking her macros. She's incorporating in fasting. She's got every adrenal and gut healing protocol on Instagram that there is. And she is frustrated, right? So she gets her labs done, all of the labs. For the first time in her life, she gets all of the thyroid labs done. And she sees this marker that her doctor never tested before called reverse T3. And that reverse T3 is an 18. So we go to the book. We go, okay, I am on T4 and my reverse is an 18. What do I do? Boom, go over here. Because of what you're taking and because of what your reverse T3 says, what we need to do is lower your dose of T4. Yes, I said lower. Your doctor is going to be like, let's keep increasing it. You have symptoms. Let's go up, 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 up. No. Because reverse T3 is putting your body into survival mode. And the only thing that's converting to it is all that T4 that you're taking and all that T4 that your doctor keeps increasing. We don't do that. We're going to lower your T4 and then we're going to bring in that active thyroid hormone that I fought for, T3. And we're going to bring that in maybe like 5 micrograms twice a day. And then we're going to work at slowly titrating that up. Then we're going to retest. So you get to retest, come back to the book and go, okay, now my reverse T3 is a 9. Okay, good. We're going to move over here then. All right, what's your free T3? Well, the free T3 is still like a 2.9. That's okay. We now know that your T4 dose is correct. You're converting properly. Now we might just bump up a little bit T3 and you're going to be optimized in no time. And so that's literally how we guide the reader through the process of literally knowing. And I know this is going to blow the minds of doctors everywhere because God forbid a patient actually know the medication and dose that they need, right?
Can you imagine?
Holy cow. But we are going to teach you exactly what your body needs. Because you know what? You're allowed to know what your body needs. Someone else does not actually have to dictate that for you. They might have to write the script,
sure,
but they don't have to have the final say because you can learn what your body needs when we're talking about the thyroid. I promise you. So that's exactly how I walk readers through knowing exactly what their body needs.
I think that is absolutely incredible. I think that, well, that's like a game changer. Obviously, I feel like a little bit speechless to think that there is a resource like this for women out there. I also love that it's okay. So we tackled the first problem. So you're on this dose of T4, your reverse T3 is 18. Okay, great. Here's the solution for that. And then we look at it again. And then you can go back and you can say, okay, now this is my dose of T4. Now my T3 is up. Okay, great. Where do I go from here? It's not like it doesn't sound like a resource that you just like pick one and that's it. And now you're stagnant there. You can keep utilizing the reference points that you have created for women.
Yes.
I think it's brilliant. So when you service the US and Canada, are you like a telehealth company, that kind of thing?
Yep. So we do telehealth, thyroid and hormones. That is our specialty. And I always encourage people, like when you are looking to work with someone for your thyroid or for hormones, you got to look for someone that specializes in it.
Oh, big time.
I also talk about that. I don't know if you've run into this in dealing with your clients, but I write about this in the book. Thank God we have functional medicine right now, but there's a lot of, we'll call them jacks of all trades, masters of none. Where it's like, I do functional medicine. I do autoimmune and mold and Lyme and thyroid and hormones and gut and adrenals and skin and brain and poop and this and that. It's like, what do you do well?
Right.
What do you actually focus on?
Right.
So you really want to be working with someone. And that's what we do. Like I'll scream it from the rooftops. I'm like, we are not a Lyme specialty practice.
Right.
If you have really bad Lyme, work with a Lyme specialist. We do thyroid and hormones. So yes, that's what we do. And that's what we really hone in on. We'll do anti-aging. We'll do the peptides because that all kind of combines. But we really, really focus on optimization of thyroid and hormones.
Amazing. Okay. So we've talked about the medication and I say that again, here's the context. medication, people kind of get freaked out. Let's call it a supplement of thyroid hormone. That's what we'll call it. Okay. Even though technically it needs a prescription, but it's not falling into the category, like you said, as like an antidepressant, anti-anxiety, or a statin. Right. So we've talked about that piece. Now, somebody comes to you or their doctor and they actually test for antibodies. And let's say a client's panel comes back and yes, they are diagnosed Hashimoto's. I want to talk about, so I've got two questions. I'm excellent in asking two questions all the time. Is that the end? Will you always have Hashimoto's and now you just accept that you have this diagnosis? And if not, what are some of the other pieces of the lifestyle that need to shift in order for that diagnosis to change, go into remission, however you want to talk about it? So two, somebody comes full diagnosis Hashimoto's, where do they go?
Okay. So you have Hashi. So we know that your body is attacking your thyroid, right? We need to calm that down. We need to tell your body that it's safe. And your thyroid, it's not a bad guy. It's cool. You got to chill out. One way we do that is by lowering the antibodies. So if you think of those antibodies like little soldiers, they like to go out and they start a war. So we want to reduce the amount of soldiers that we have. We can do that by black cumin seed oil, which I love. I have seen people go into full remission of Hashimoto's using just black cumin seed. Now it has to be standardized for 3% thymoquinone. I always like to say that because there was one podcast I did. I was talking about black cumin. And somebody ultimately posted, like, I found this on Amazon. It's 50% thymoquinone. I'm like, then that is 100% fake because you can't even have 50% thymoquinone. You want 3% thymoquinone. That's the active ingredient in black cumin. So we can use that. We can use low-dose naltrexone. That's a prescription, but it does very similar things to black cumin. It's going to lower antibodies. It's going to lower inflammation. It's just going to help your thyroid gland work better, but calm down that autoimmune attack. The lifestyle piece that is so vital. It's so vital. Gluten-free. And for goodness sake, it's not a fad. It's not. Like in this day and age, we've heard gluten-free all the time, like over and over again, to the point where it's almost like we become numb to it. Like, oh yeah, that person's gluten-free. Sure. But there's a reality to it when we're talking autoimmune and when we're talking about the thyroid, because if we look under a microscope and we look at that gluten molecule, it looks in structure very similar to the thyroid gland. So your little soldiers that are programmed to think that your thyroid's a bad guy, whenever you eat gluten, your soldiers get that message and they're like, wait, there's something coming in the body. Looks like the thyroid gland. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Should we start a war? I mean, like that's what we're supposed to do, right? And your soldiers will launch an all-out attack every time you eat gluten. Now, you might be sitting there going, well, my stomach doesn't hurt. Like, it's not about just your gut. When we're talking about an autoimmune flare, it could be that you get all the hypo symptoms. It could be that you gain 5 pounds because now you just tanked your T3 production. It could be that you get migraines. You could get a rash. You could get other autoimmune conditions. So you want to go gluten-free when you have Hashimoto's if you want to have any chance whatsoever at putting that into remission. Can it be done? Yeah, it can. I will also say you'll always be a Hashimoto patient. Just because they go to zero temporarily doesn't mean that you can now start treating your body like a circus. So if you do all these things and you push your antibodies to zero, and then you're like, well, that was fun. Now I'm just going to have the pizza and the donuts. Well, then it's going to come back. You're going to be in the same position as you were before because you stopped doing the very thing that made you better. So yes, it can be put into remission. Yes. Whether or not you're going to avoid thyroid hormone replacement depends on how far down that autoimmune pathway you are. So if you're catching it in the beginning stages where, maybe you just put on 5 pounds, maybe you're just like a little tired, not too bad. Okay. We might be able to keep you off thyroid medication at that point. But if you're 5, 10, 15 years down the road, no one has told you you had a Hashimoto's, no one's been treating you properly, you haven't gone gluten-free, then your thyroid has been destroyed for over a decade. You might need thyroid hormone replacement at that time, because I guarantee you, if I beat you up every day for a decade, you're not going to be as productive as you once were 10 years ago. So yes, there is a time. I mean, we never stop working on putting Hashimoto's into remission, but we also don't say, well, that's all we're going to do. I mean, sometimes we do bring in the thyroid hormone replacement as well.
How refreshing, probably as a practitioner, that you're just a straight shooter. Like, it is something that is so hard as a coach, as a practitioner, when you are saying to your client, okay, well, we're going to have to look at gluten-free options, and the resistance of that conversation comes into play, because I think you're right. I think that it's been thrown around a lot over the last 15 years. And people have become resistant to the idea because they're just not they just won't be that person. You know, the person who goes out with their girlfriends to a restaurant and says, oh, no, I'm gluten-free. It's almost like people are annoyed by it, right? And so they don't want to be that person. I have heard that from many women that I've worked with over the years. They don't want to be that woman. And in my head, I'm like, my God, I would rather be that woman. First of all, your friends are probably not judging you, because they're too busy thinking about themselves. And if they are judging you, that's not your friend. You're doing something for your body that hurts nobody else and actually makes you feel better. That's like a crazy thing to me. Anyway, people really underestimate what the food choices they can make do for their bodies. Like you said, you may not be able to avoid thyroid hormone replacement therapy if it's too far gone. But you can still make yourself feel a whole hell of a lot better if you just choose the gluten-free option. Yeah. There are so many options out there. My house is a gluten-free house.
Yep.
I never had Hashimoto's. I didn't even ever have hypothyroidism. I just notice outside of the digestive piece, like you said, my rings don't fit as well. Mm-hmm. Right? If I eat gluten, usually it's an accumulation for me. And the other thing that I think is totally crazy, with all the information we have around wheat and grains, and what that does to our body, my son is in daycare, and I had to literally lie to his daycare provider to make sure he has a gluten-free diet at school. And not because he doesn't ever eat gluten. I don't have a full restriction on him. I want him to have a regular life and childhood. They told me that every meal and every snack provided 5 days a week contains wheat. And I said, no, I'm sorry. That is unacceptable. And that probably, if that's a 3-year-old, you're telling me that doesn't exist all the way through elementary school, all the way through high school, all the way through university and college, that's what our options are.
You know, what's interesting is, I'm so happy you said that, Michelle. I get the question all the time, why is there more autoimmune conditions right now? And I'm always answering toxins, yada, yada, yada. And all that is true. But that's another layer right there. Our children are their guts, starting at the age of whatever, 2, 3, are literally being destroyed by our daycares and our schools.
Yes.
It starts there.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
So I had a fight with a provider because I was like, no. It's one thing if my kid goes to a birthday party and has a cupcake. It's another thing for my kid to have been eating this for 3 meals a day, 5 days a week.
That's
ridiculous.
The
age of 2. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
So, to the women out there listening about the gluten-free piece, you have to think of what's worth it. No matter what you do in your life, there is going to be a benefit and there's going to be a risk, or there's going to be a pro and there's going to be a con. And are you telling me that you are going to die on that pizza or feel like garbage for the rest of your life? That to me is insane. And I love how you're such a straight shooter about that, because it is hard as the coach to be like, well, I hear you, but also, it's a sticky spot for the coach when the person is is pretty resistant. So I actually really love your message. And for those listening, man, you're going to have to make a choice.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it just comes down to what do you want?
Yep.
And, I have told patients before who push back, I go, well, then don't complain to me in a couple of months when you haven't lost the weight. I don't want to hear it. They're like, whoa, what? I'm like, listen, I'm just giving you the truth.
Yeah.
Like if you won't do this small step, that by the way is so easy these days. Come on. This isn't 1985 where you have to like bake everything yourself for gluten-free. Like you can use the gluten-free options. You don't want to have your whole house be, gluten-free pretzels and gluten-free crackers and gluten-free this and gluten-free that. Make some stuff yourself and eat real food for goodness sake. But you can use those gluten-free crutches to still enjoy the food that you love. Or your kids, like you said, can still have a freaking cookie. It just has to be gluten-free.
Yes.
And yeah, it's all about people realizing the reality of the situation and not sticking their head in the sand, hoping for a different result.
100%. And I think that it's a great disclaimer that like you can go on hormone replacement therapy, thyroid replacement therapy. You can go on GLP-1s and peptides and all of the things. But if you're still eating food that your body is reacting to, you are not going to see the results from it that you say you want when you come to a practitioner or, a functional medicine doctor in the first place. Like you can have all the thyroid medication you want. And if your thyroid is still under attack, then you're still completely inflamed.
Yep, exactly.
Another piece, let's talk about exercise. I assume you're a personal trainer, but I don't know if that's actually correct. At one point in your life, would you have said a personal trainer or were you just training with one?
Yeah, no, I did do some personal training too, because I think it naturally occurs. Like you start competing and then everyone's like, what do you do? Will you do me a workout plan? So I naturally kind of became like a personal trainer and nutritionist and helping girls get ready for shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
So same scenario. Let's talk about the exercise piece. And the women who come to me, the women who listen to this podcast, they're not lazy. They are not, sit on the couch all day and eat chips all night, all the things. They are women who are tracking their macros. They are women who are like, oh my goodness, what am I doing wrong? I'm hitting the gym 5 days a week. I'm, eating 1,200 calories a day. What's going on? What's the exercise piece that you would tell women in this scenario? Hypothyroid.
So first of all, lift heavy shit, because if you are a cardio queen, if you're on your Peloton 5 days a week, what you're doing is you're actually going to make your thyroid worse. So what I mean by that, whenever we're doing just cardio, that actually increases your cortisol. And when we're talking about the thyroid, it's like the thyroid's a canary in the coal mine. I mean, if you're under a lot of stress, it will tell you. And it will downregulate and not work well. That T4 to T3 conversion that has to occur, the inactive thyroid hormone has to become the active thyroid hormone T3. If cortisol is high, that's not going to happen. What's going to happen instead is your body is going to go into this hibernation state like a bear does in the winter. And your body's going to say, I don't care how many hours on that bike or step mill or Stairmaster you do. What we're going to do is hold on to fat for dear life because we think that you're actually like in the ICU dying for some reason.
Right.
We think that your body needs some help here and it doesn't really need to burn fat. And you know what? You don't need that hair on your head either. You definitely don't need to have sex. You don't need to think. You don't need energy. No. You don't even need to poop every day.
Right.
You just need to lie there and survive. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm not in the hospital. What's going on? Well, your body thinks it is because you decided to be a cardio queen and you pushed up your cortisol so high on a day-to-day basis that your body has now shuttled up your reverse T3 and locked your body down. But wait, I thought cardio was good. I thought it would burn fat. No, not all the time. I mean, cardio in the sense of doing cardio, like when we say the treadmill, the bike, whatever, there is a benefit to the cardiovascular system.
Sure.
But you know what really gets your heart rate up? Lifting heavy shit.
Yep.
Try lifting a heavy weight a couple of times, do 10 reps of something and let me know what your heart rate is.
Yep.
It should go up if you're working hard enough. If you've picked up more than the little 2.5 pound weights, your heart rate should be going up. And that personally is the best way to get in cardiovascular fitness than spending an hour on a bike, which does nothing for you.
I couldn't agree more. Also, lifting weights lowers inflammation, builds muscle if you're not in a catabolic state. So everything that Amie just said, if your cortisol is not, if your adrenal glands are not completely tanked and overburdened and all the things, you're in an anabolic state, you're building muscle, you're boosting your metabolism. You are literally supporting your thyroid. Lowering
insulin, uprating growth hormone. I mean, the benefits are crazy.
All of it. And we have to stop thinking about these freaking trends, the Pilates trend, the Peloton trend. And I'm not saying that these things all don't, have a place in our world, but let's get back to the basics. Let's squat, let's deadlift, do some pull-ups. You can't do pull-ups. Make that a goal, because lifting your own body weight, that is not only incredible for the body and building muscle, but how incredibly empowering it is to master a pull-up at the age of 40, at the age of 50. I love going downstairs to my gym. I have a 3-year-old and he'll be like, "Mommy, you're so strong." Yes, dude. Yes. And that is absolutely something that I want all of my kids to strive for. Not because it's an aesthetic piece, although, it doesn't hurt to look good naked. Okay.
Right.
But you shouldn't want to grow up and think that strength isn't an important piece of your health.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
And I was going to have caveats and nuance to all of that, but no, like you said, just lift heavy shit.
Lift heavy. Keep it simple. Yeah.
I love it. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners today?
The biggest thing when you're going through this journey is to have hope. Like I said earlier, I was hopeless. I didn't know where to turn. We didn't have podcasts back then. I had a dial up internet. We didn't have ChatGPT. We didn't have anything. So have hope that this will get better. It absolutely will. You're not a hard case, no matter what you've heard. I don't care how many doctors you've been through. I don't care if you've seen functional and integrative medicine and they told you you're a tough case. You're really not. The right person can figure you out. Now, the book is absolutely going to help you. And then if you need additional help, we're here. We already said, the Advanced Thyroid Hormone Clinic, we got you. We can prescribe to all 50 states. We got you covered. But my goal in writing this was really to put the power back into the patient's hands, into the women's hands, so that they could figure out, so you listening can figure out exactly what your body needs to get to that next level, so you can live this life of vibrance and vitality and energy, and you're not gaining weight looking sideways at a brownie anymore, and you can go on vacation and not dread the aftermath of your clothes being tight. That's where you should live. And like I say, you deserve to be the badass human that you're meant to be. And in getting there, it really takes thyroid and hormone balance to run your body the proper way. So have hope, keep going. Use the Thyroid Fix as a resource. I even go deep into how to talk to your doctor in there. We touched on it today. I go deep in there, giving you all the tools, some tricks that you can put up your sleeve to actually get your doctor to do what you want him or her to do. So grab the book and have hope at the same time. I promise you things can change.
Amazing. I love that. Dr. Amie, where can people find you and find your book?
Absolutely. So the book, you can go to thyroidfixbook.com, and you can find that on any retail site, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, wherever books are sold. And then my site is dramie.com, DRAMIE.com. From there, you can maneuver around. You can book a free call with my team. We'll just go over what it looks like to work together. You can find the Thyroid Fixer podcast on there that Michelle's going to be a guest on too. I'm so excited. And then you can also find the Fixer supplement line, all the different resources. Just go to dramie.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for today. It was a great conversation, very informative.
Amazing. Thanks, Michelle.